Hey, Push Run Nation, Dr. Dave here. Today we're going to be looking at the Brooks Caldera 6 Super Max Trail Shoe. Let's take a look. So let's start out just saying that this shoe I bought with my own money from Roadrunner Sports. So let's start out with what I like about this shoe, and at the end, I'll tell you about what I don't like. All right, number one, we'll talk about the foam, and there is a lot of it on here. This is the Brooks DNA Loft version 3 nitrogen-infused foam. What companies are finding out in their development of the different types of foam in the creation process by infusing nitrogen into the foam, they're finding out they can use a lot more of it, and it's also making the shoe or the foam lighter. That's why you're seeing a lot of these trail shoes come out with the Super Max, as I call it, sole on them. That's just more comfort for your feet out in the trails. This shoe's going to give you a really fun and bouncy ride, but I'll tell you, compared to some other trail shoes that I'm also trying out now, it's not as responsive as others. However, there's some give and take. If you want the responsiveness, you're not going to get a lot of the lightness or some of that bounciness that you may want. So just depends what type you want. The way the foam is contoured around the heel section, pretty much from midfoot to the heel, it's almost in the cupped type geometry. So it's going to hold your foot into the shoe, giving you a little bit more stability with a cupped in feeling. And you definitely can feel that as you're wearing these out on the trails. Number two, let's talk about durability. I have 53 miles on the shoe right now, and as you can tell from the sole, this shows absolutely no signs of wear and tear. The lugs on the bottom are ASICS DriGrip rubber. The lugs aren't long enough to be too much of a concern with catching on trails, distance far enough apart to give you good traction, but the more lugs that are added on the outsole, the heavier the shoe's going to get. And you can see in the midfoot section, there isn't any lugs. You have that coupled groove down the center, which is unneeded foam, unneeded outsole, so they save some of the weight that way by taking that out. These lugs also are far enough apart where you're not going to get on caked on dirt, rocks, other debris, mud, depending on what type of trail you're running in. I've been wearing these primarily on sandy type trails, and I'll tell you, plenty of great grip with this outsole. Next, let's talk about width. Number 4. Brooks is marketing this shoe as a narrow shoe, and I have a narrow foot. I found that I have plenty of room when putting my foot in the shoe. However, I have probably not had a blister on either of my feet for probably 5 or 6 years until I wore this shoe. The first time I wore it, right about here, only on the right shoe, I developed a little blister about the size of a pea, a little blood blister. Happened the second time also, aggravated it, even though I put a bandage on it and some rubberized athletic tape. Second time wearing it, I wore a little thicker sock. First time, maybe I didn't have a thick enough sock, but I still developed that little hot spot there. Only spot on my right toe, but that's not enough to take me away from trying this out even further, because I absolutely love the ride that I get with this. So if you have a wide foot, Caldera 6 is not the shoe for you. In the heel, grabs my heel, very nice. The whole shoe actually snugs my foot in to give me a nice tight ride. has a cupped inside, as I said before, with the foam kind of built up on the sides here. So that's going to cup your foot in to give you a nice stable ride. So let's put some numbers on the shoe with our digital calipers. On the heel, we're talking about 4.24 inches. And on the forefoot, right under the balls of the feet, 4.67 inches. So let's compare that to the ASICS Trabuco Max 2. Forefoot is, 4.3. Brooks, 4.7. So we got a wider forefoot. Heel, 3.9 inches on the Trabuco, and on the Brooks, 4.23. 3.7, 3.8 inches on the Trabuco. So it does offer a wider base to give you that more stable ride. One of the drawbacks on the shoe is the upper. And this is one of those areas you really have to look at with the uppers. If you want something that is as durable and heavy duty as they come, here's your shoe. But the drawback to that is the materials typically do not breathe very well. So in the warmer weather, this may become a little bit hotter on your feet. Talking about the upper, let's talk about the toe box. And the toe guard has a front toe guard to guard against when you're kicking those rocks and roots out there on the trail, but also a toe guard all the way around, and probably has one of the more stiffer toe guards all the way around. And that may be one of the reasons why I developed that blister. And you can tell that there's a pretty significant overlay built right into the upper of the shoe. That one gives protection and also gives some style and adds to the stability. So next, number 7, let's talk about the weight. Brooks is saying that a men's size 9 is 11.1 ounce and 314 grams. I have a men's size 11.5 US. I have 12.8 ounces, and in grams, for our European friends, we're talking about 361 grams. So a pretty heavy shoe, but I'll tell you, when wearing it, it doesn't feel heavy. Now, talking about that stack height in the foam, let's check out how soft it is. I have my Shore C Derometer for testing the hardness or softness of rubber. And in the heel section, we have about 37. And on the forefoot, we have 30 to 31. Now, let's compare that again to the Trabuco. The lower the number, the softer the foam. So Trabuco on the forefoot, we have 34.5 compared to 31.5. On the heel in the Trabuco, 36.5 compared to 27, 35 lower down. 35.5 on the lower section of the heel and the Caldera 6. So, softer ride than the ASICS. Now, lastly, let's talk about the stack height. Brooks is saying on a men's size 9, there's 36 millimeter stack in the heel and 30 in the forefoot for a 6 millimeter drop or offset. The higher you get up in the sizes, the greater your stack height's going to be. So I'm sure that this is well over 40 millimeters on my men's 11.5, because it certainly feels it. Now, the trails that I've mostly been running on, I think I said before, pretty much sandy type trails. The grip on the shoe is great for that type of very loose, fine sand. So if you're running in any type of beach runs or sandy type trails, loose dirt, you're going to get great grip on here with this shoe. If you're doing elevation, you're also going to be finding that the lugs on this shoe are going to work equally as well on those type of trails. The other thing is with the rockered front, that's going to also help you out on those elevated trails going up when you're towing off, because it's going to put you in the proper position to tow off. Two other features that I really like about this shoe is that once you have your shoelaces tied, there's a little front band here that comes up that you put the shoelaces under to hold them in place, so you're not having them flop all over. And then that will hold them in place. I've run 20 and 25-mile runs with this shoe, and I'll tell you, once I put them under that front elastic, they never came out. The other last feature is that the shoe is all set, if you're going to be wearing gaiters, has a kind of reinforced groove on the front, the bottom of the shoelace for the front hook of your gaiter, and on the back of the heel has that Velcro to hook the back of your gaiter onto. Really, the only drawback to this shoe for me is in the next couple months when it starts getting pretty hot and humid where I live in South Carolina in the United States, where it will get up to over 100 degrees with 100% humidity, I'll be seeing if my feet are going to be getting pretty toasty inside these shoes. This shoe retails in the United States for $149, $150. Yes, a little bit high, but for where trail shoes are right now, that's right about average. If you want to check this out further online, check out the description where I'll have a link to Roadrunner Sports to the shoe. Just know that if you do order the shoe through Roadrunner Sports using that link, I will receive a little commission back from Roadrunner Sports. That just goes towards furthering what we can do here with Push the Run. So this is Dr. Dave signing off. I'll see you out in the streets, the roads, and the trails. Run on.